Welcome to this explainer, Decoding Warli Art, the mathematics of spirituality. Today we're going to explore something pretty incredible. We'll be looking at how simple, white geometric lines drawn on earthy surfaces actually hold some of the most profound ancient philosophies known to human history. It's fascinating stuff, so let's dive right in.
Think about this for a second. Can the entire cosmos, with all of its massive complexity, really be distilled down to just a circle, a triangle, and a square? Well, for the indigenous Warli tribe, the answer is an absolute yes. See, without a written language to record their histories or their beliefs, they rely on a highly specific visual cipher. Now, to outside observers, it might honestly just look like rudimentary stick figures, but actually, it's a remarkably sophisticated system of communication that translates the intricacies of the natural and spiritual worlds into absolute geometric clarity.
To actually read this art, we've got to decode the Warli geometric vocabulary. First up, we have the circle, which represents the sun, the moon, time, and cosmic cycles, obviously, absolutely crucial elements for an agrarian society. Then there's the triangle. This one represents mountains, pointed trees, and human forms. It's derived directly from observing the natural landscape. But the square? The square is entirely different. It represents human invention, sacred land, and ritual enclosures. It doesn't actually exist in their natural landscape. It's a completely human, sacred invention.
And it's so brilliant how these basic building blocks come together, especially in the human form. It isn't just a random sketch, you know? It's literally two triangles balanced right at their very tips. The upper triangle is the torso, and the lower one is the pelvis. And this isn't just some stylistic choice. That precarious equilibrium balancing on a single point symbolizes the delicate balance of the universe itself. The Warli are literally rendering the complexity of real life through incredibly calculated spiritual mathematics.
Which brings us to the most sacred structure in their entire visual grammar, the chalk, or Dave chalk. This is a sacred square drawn on walls during marriage rituals, invoking Palgut, the mother goddess of fertility and prosperity. Since we know the square represents human space, this central motif is drawn by married women right onto the walls of homes. They are essentially building architecture for the divine, creating this highly auspicious, protective space right inside the house.
Now, it's important to remember that for most of its history, this geometric enclosure was never meant to be quote-unquote art in the gallery sense. Not at all. It was a living, breathing ritual. Drawn out on these traditional earthy walls, this symbol of fertility was absolutely necessary for a marriage to even proceed. For the Warli people, whose beliefs revolve so heavily around the perennial cycle of birth and death, creating this specific design was fundamentally linked to the survival and the continuation of the tribe itself.
The creation process is also incredibly tactile and, honestly, surprisingly resourceful. Step 1. The canvas. We're talking walls made of red mud and cow dung that create that signature rustic background. Step 2. The paint. It's simply white rice paste and water, beautifully symbolizing purity. And step 3. The brush. Get this. It's literally just a bamboo stick, chewed at one end to miraculously create bristles. It's this entirely organic, eco-friendly transition straight from raw earth to those stark white lines. This deep, rooted connection to nature completely shapes their concept of time. Unlike linear Western timelines, the ones that progress strictly from point A to point B, the Warli view life as a continuous cycle. It's much like the changing seasons of sowing and harvesting. As this quote captures so perfectly, the spiral suggests that every ending is merely a new beginning. Life has no beginning and no end.
And you can really see this kinetic energy brought to life in the tarpa dance. At the absolute center, there's a single musician playing the tarpa. It's a divine wind instrument made out of a dried gourd, bamboo, and palm leaves. Around him, the entire community entwines hands and waists in these huge concentric circles, moving together to the rhythm. The dancers essentially become a figurative snake, perfectly mirroring that unending cosmic rhythm of the universe we just talked about. But there's an even deeper layer here. Embedded in this continuous formation is a core philosophy of radical equality. The dancers interlock hands with identical geometric shapes, reflecting a truly egalitarian society. That unbreakable chain signifies that no single individual is above the collective whole. Even more striking, men and women are drawn using the exact same shapes, just those two joined triangles. It perfectly reflects a society where labor and joy are equally shared. So, these flat, simple drawings, they're actually blueprints of a highly harmonious, unified community.
Now, if we zoom out for a second, the chronological journey of this art is just astonishing. Looking at the timeline, we see origins stretching all the way back to 2500 BCE, bearing a striking resemblance to prehistoric cave paintings. For millennia, it was this hidden, unwritten language of ritual. It honestly wasn't until the 1970s that it burst out of tribal isolation and was discovered by the mainstream art world. And that, of course, paved the way for the 21st century, where we now see its global commercialization and modern apparel.
So how did that jump happen? Well, the catalyst for that massive transformation was one pivotal artist, Jivia Soma Mashe. Before him, Warli painting was strictly ceremonial, and it was almost exclusively created by women. But Mashe, who actually used drawings in the mud to communicate after suffering a childhood trauma, boldly broke convention. He was the one who took the sacred language off the mud walls of the village and started painting it on portable canvas and paper. In doing so, Jivia Soma Mashe completely transformed Warli from a closed ritual into an everyday narrative shared with the world. He started illustrating everyday stories, local folklore, and just the simple, everyday beauty of tribal life. His monumental legacy bridged an ancient, localized language with the modern world. He essentially proved that the inherent artistic merit and stunning graphic beauty of Warli art extended far, far beyond its original ceremonial purpose. So as we wrap up this explainer, we've seen how the Warli tribe managed to use just 3 simple shapes to map human existence, divine rituals, and time itself. It really forces us to step back and ask, what profound truths can we rediscover in the absolute simplicity of a circle, a triangle, and a square? It's a powerful reminder that simplicity is often just complexity distilled down to its purest form. Thank you so much for joining me today. I highly encourage you to take some time and really look at the shapes around you. You might just see the universe a little differently.